he was almost like Baby from Cash Money. He actually asked the audience to put some respect on his name. And I thought that was powerful. He immediately looked at the screen and he showed that ferocity that we haven't seen so far. There's something that goes a long way when a fighter shows passion, whether it's passion in the cage or whether it's passion in the mic. It's so important. And I feel like that did a lot to make people not sleep on who Kamaru Usman is. Because going into the fight, people were sleeping on him.
Yeah, there were people, I feel like there were starting to be these like two camps where it was people who were really recognizing that like, hey, Usman's like a once in a generation kind of thing. And then, yeah, you had people saying, he's a Kamaru Usman. He's not having, exciting fights. Last fight with Masvidal was horrible. He can't do this. He can't do that. Gilbert Burns is going to wash this guy, knock this guy out. And for a minute, it looked like they were right. But then it ended up being the other people.
It was amazing. When he got rocked, I think so highly of Kamaru Usman that I didn't think it was over just yet. I thought, you know what, let's watch, just wait. This guy can do adjustments. And one of the great things that he did as a boxing purist, I would love the fact that he implemented the jab and controlled him with the jab. That was part of the reason why he was able to kind of stop and kind of stifle Gilbert Burns' attack. And that's something that I feel that training together, he probably already knew going into it. This is going to be the way. This is going to be the blueprint to beat Gilbert Burns.
Well, did you hear what Trevor Whitman said to him as he was getting off the stool to start the second? The last thing he yelled at him was, "You're a champion because of your jab." And he like really screamed it at him. And man, if he wasn't right, the jab was beautiful. Obviously, him being able to get Gilbert on his back. But bigger than the technique and bigger than the jab and the right hand was the composure. You know what I mean? When Burns slipped that right hand over the top of Kamaru's initial jab, because Kamaru was jabbing from the start, got him in trouble initially. He takes the right hand over the top, and Gilbert starts swarming, and he over swarms, and he really starts loading up on punches. So Kamaru, even though he's dazed, can see him coming. Versus Kamaru, he gets Kamaru, he gets Gilbert hurt. He's been there. He's calm. He's patient. He takes his time. And it was his championship experience ultimately that won him the fight here, or at least his championship composure.
Championship composure is massive. That's part of the reason why Mayweather and Canelo and a lot of these stars that have been champions for a long extended period of time, what they love to do is put the bright lights on you to see what happens. We know you're a good fighter. I'm a good fighter. But what happens when all the attention is on you? What happens when you can't just focus on the fight because we have to do press conferences, when every single person on the internet that knows that this fight is your biggest fight? What happens? And that's one thing that Kamaru Usman is a champion, is 100%. He's got the third or second most defenses in the weight class.
It's got to be something up there. Yeah, it's already crazy. Well, he's beaten 8 out of the top 10 guys. He beat GSP's record for consecutive wins at welterweight. That's not to say who beat better guys, but at least who beat more guys consecutively.
I dare to say he's got a better record right now.
Than GSP?
Than GSP. I'm not saying he's better than GSP, but I'm saying the guys that he beat are tougher people than he beat.
I don't know that I agree with that. Seeing GSP, he didn't get any. His initial fight in the UFC was Carl Parisian. You know what I mean? This guy, his third fight was Matt Hughes. This dude was fighting killers from the moment he stepped in. Sean Shirk, Frank Trigg, BJ Penn on multiple occasions. Michael Bisping. I mean, let's not, Carlos Condit, Nick Diaz, the list is insane. Johnny Hendricks, controversially, but still. I still think you put GSP above him. But Kamaru's
overall. But this has been a hell of a run.
It's a hell of a run. Kamaru's chipping at it, and he can get there. He's not away from that. He's not outside of that, that far outside of that.
One of the issues that he's facing as a champion right now is lack of competition, because he called out Jorge Masvidal after the fight, but we've already seen you destroy Jorge Masvidal,
who hasn't won a fight since. It's not like, honestly, I hate to say it, the guy that should get the title shot right now, I feel like, is Colby. Because Colby, even though you want to see a little bit more from him, he lost to Kamaru, very competitive fight, beats Tyron Woodley, It stops Tyron Woodley with the weird rib injury thing in September. So if you're looking at anybody around, if it's going to be a rematch, I know people are talking about Leon, but I still feel like Leon needs a marquee win that he doesn't have. And Colby just beat up the former champ and stopped him, which Kamaru couldn't do. So I feel like there might be something.
He's in very Boo Andrade status where he doesn't have that one name where I can call out Canelo because I beat this guy. He doesn't have that one thing. And Leon Edwards is so close to that. Just one more fight. And we're all trying to give you the title shot. But
Yes.
one thing that's going to be hard to outsell is the fact that you've already lost to the champion.
I totally agree. That really does hold him back. It was very early in their UFC career. So if you're explaining you're losing and if you're Kamaru saying, hey, remember when I beat this guy? And everybody's like, no, that doesn't really help him as much. It's like how people would watch Conor versus Max again. You know what I mean? Even though that was so early in their careers. It happens like that. These guys get matched tough.
So who would you give Usman next?
Covington. I hate to say it. The next guy is Wonder Boy, and Wonder Boy's all good in the hood, but he just got knocked out by Pettis
a while ago. Pettis isn't even in the UFC anymore.
He's got like a 1-fight win streak. 2. I think he's got a 2-fight win streak.
Sorry.
What the fuck are you doing? This isn't your mirror. What are you doing? Log me out.
I got caught up in the moment. I got caught up in the enthusiasm.
Disgusting.
No, but I completely agree. It's going to be a tough thing to get him a right champion, a right opponent for the champion. I personally think Wonder Boy is a good pick just because it's different than what we've seen. But you can't take away the fact that the Covington fight, number one, they had the good bad blood, they had the good promo, didn't sell for whatever reason, but it was competitive until the very last round.
Why do people want to watch that race war? We put on a race war. Nobody seemed to want to watch it. Weird.
In boxing, that's all that sells the fights.
Okay, but boxing, they don't do there's not like a MAGA champion versus like a Black Lives Matter champion.
Wait a minute. There was that MAGA guy who got knocked out by the Mexican. He wore
but that was not like pay-per-view main event.
No, it wasn't.
This is for the number one spot in the world. The winner of this fight, if the fucking whoever the wall guy was, if he won that fight, he wasn't
American. He was Russian. He
wouldn't have gone to meet Trump afterwards. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean?
Like he was Ivanka's cousin or something.
I think we can confidently say if Covington won that fight, Trump would have been president today.
Yeah.
It's all his fault. No, but for real, I would give the title shot to Colby. I think he's earned it.
One person I want to highlight on this card, now that we're putting a bow on Usman versus Burns, is Kevin Gastelum is back in the winning column being Ian Heinisch.
He is team soft body captain, Kelvin Gastelum. 3-round win. I thought ultimately it came down to this with Ian Heinisch, who had a lot of moments. Try not to flex while you're opening that fucking can. It came down to this with Ian Heinisch. Anything Kelvin did to Ian, he was able to handle and escape or do something with or counter in some way. But he wasn't able to stop him from doing it. And so that ended up really getting him behind in the points and in a lot of these exchanges. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like Kelvin started everything.
I wasn't sure if I was seeing that Kelvin is back or that maybe I overrated Ian.
Kelvin.
What did I say?
Calvin. Yeah, I mean, he's still 1-3 in his last four.
Kelvin.
He's 1-3 in his last 4. It's white folks. They do be like that. Kelvin's 1-3 in his last 4. He's still working his way back, but he really needed this win, and I'm really happy for him. His striking looked great, and more than anything, he went back to his wrestling roots. They said this is the most takedowns he's ever had in a fight, and it was 4. Ian's a good fucking wrestler and a really talented counter wrestler. So to take him down that many times and have that kind of control is meaningful. He should take advantage of this more often because like somebody like a Frankie Edgar, I feel like he works best when his striking and his takedowns are mixed together. He's like a big puffed up Frankie Edgar. He's like Frankie Edgar having an allergic attack, right?
Frankie Edgar was always the small guy in the division because he was tough and because he didn't want to cut weight. This guy did that and decided, what if I ate all the tacos in the world and moved up another division on top of that?
And that is exactly what he did because, man, they said it on the broadcast. He could still probably make 170.
100%.
Yeah,
There's a lot of loose skin on that guy. He's only in his 20s.
but I think he's one of those body types where if he was like six packed up, like he wouldn't do so good. You know what I mean? I feel like some guys like Chuck Liddell, like never really was ripped like that. Like there's just some guys like Daniel Cormier is not ripped like that. If you were to see Daniel Cormier with like a fucking like six pack, he's gonna die. Like you need to step in medically.
Well, I feel like Chuck was ripped up like that, but it's just a beer belly. Like it was actually just a beer reaction to his body.
Whatever you mean. Regardless, I think that it stands in this example. But Kelvin kind of reestablishes himself at 185 pounds. Now it's going to be a battle to see, is he a resurging contender who's figuring things out, or is he a gatekeeper?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Who would you put him up against next?
Oh, boy, great question. Who's hanging around at 185 pounds, Jesse, while I pull
It's an open division. The champ just moved up.
No, but he'll be back. He's not going to stay there. Maybe like a Brunson is around and coming off a real nice win. That might be a good one. Kelvin Gastelum versus a nice Derek Brunson. And, man, if you want to throw two bangers together, Marvin Vettori and Kelvin Gastelum would fuck each other up.
Dude, that's the fight. That's the fight they got to make.
And it would be a good chance for Marvin to beat a former title challenger that famously took Israel Adesanya to the distance and be able to kind of like beat the clock challenge it almost like, hey, man, I fucking knocked this cat out or I stopped this guy, and you weren't able to.
When are we going to have UFC Italy? Like, they have enough Italian fighters to put on that main card now.
Bro, we can't even have UFC. Like, we can't have UFC anything. We have UFC Vegas. We have UFC Dubai. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Touche. Good point. Anything else on this card that you want to go ahead and talk about? Anything that struck you as interesting?
Struck me as interesting. Well, fucking Rodolfo broke my fucking heart. I don't think people get that's like one of the biggest upsets ever in MMA.
And he got guillotined.
No, he got fucking. It's technically a variation on a Darce. People have been calling it an arming guillotine. It's not. It's a little bit more similar to like an arm triangle. Hermanson hits it sometimes, and fuck all, man, that fucking broke my heart to watch that. That was like watching a home team player just get played, man. Rodolfo will be back. I think he needs to move up to 205. I think he is too lean, and that definitely does not help his cardio. And I think that ended up being an issue. I think that kind of adrenaline dump when you have no body fat and when you're kind of really sucked out is not the best thing for you. And he would still fuck people up at 205 pounds. While we're throwing some nice things around, the first fight of the night, Gabe Green versus Philip Rowe, really, really fun fight if people haven't seen it. That one's like a hidden gem. Really good fight. And the second fight, Gutierrez and Andre Ewell, really good.
Yeah, definitely check those fights out. I would say they're fun fights, but there's not like a lot of like anything in terms of championship picture on those fights just yet.
No, Bilal Muhammad did a really good job, but there's not a lot of championship contenders.
He's a guy to look out for. He's a guy that you want to make sure you watch him through the ESPN prelims, watch him as he makes it to the main card. I see a lot of traction within Bilal Muhammad.
I can believe it. I can see it. Did you have any thoughts on the co-main with Grasso and Macy Barber?
So I was really hyped after watching Gastelum versus Heinisch. And I was very excited to see Usman versus Burns. That fight put me to sleep. I'm going to be honest. I know Grasso won. I felt like Grasso won based on the commentary. But the whole fight, I was slowly falling asleep. So if you have sleeping issues and you want to go to bed, this may be the fight for you. How did you feel in this fight?
Roughly the same, even though I didn't actually fall asleep. Is this why we didn't get a post-show live stream like we said we might?
Yeah, man, it totally killed me. Like after that fight, I was really struggling to stay awake. And I woke up late that day. I slept in. I was like, there's a lot of fights. Let me go ahead and do this. Grasso versus Barber totally killed me.
Incredibly. Yeah, it was a fine fight. Grasso looks like a contender at 125, but I'm not sold as like next Mexican Ronda Rousey, XYZ. Like she's going to have to piece together more than just Macy Barber in this division for me to be able to talk about her in some of those lights as a real contender. She showed some nice stuff, But I don't know if we got all the questions answered that still existed when she was at 115. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens next with her. High ceiling, but not everybody hits their ceiling.
Not everyone hits their ceiling. It may be interesting to watch. Someone who hit their ceiling and then hit their floor this weekend in the opener of fight season, Josh Warrington got upset by the 22-year-old Mauricio Lara.
Josh Warrington got his career altered, Jesse. Let's call it like it is. Homeboy got absolutely crushed by Lara, somebody he expected to be a can, right? And that'll happen every once in a while. I'm dying. That'll happen every once in a while where somebody will come in and they'll be tougher than you expected as a contender, right? Mm-hmm. A good example of that might be Tyson Fury versus Otto Wallin. You know what I mean? Who we can talk about pretty soon. But like, man, he comes in, it turns out Otto Wallin's fucking really good. Man, you can see him. He's doing some nice stuff in there. Good shit. No, for real. And then he goes on. He has a nice career. We see it, from time to time. The problem is, what if you come in and you're not your best? Mm-hmm. And it turns out this guy's a lot better than you thought he was. And you've been inactive for as long as Josh Warrington has been inactive. And you were overlooking him because you're already signing for the Can Zoo fight that comes next, which was supposed to happen in April, apparently. And you end up playing yourself. Man, have you seen the fight? Should have been stopped in the fourth.
100%. The fact that Warrington survived after the fourth round was insane. This was Mauricio Lara should be the champion, right? Can we say that?
Yes.
The reason that Warrington lost the belt is because he didn't want to rematch Kid Galahad. Do you remember that fight? It was a very close fight where he barely.
I guess we're back.
It looks like we're back. Yeah.
In fact, in some ways, we never left. Sorry about that, everybody. The fucking stream crashed. We had to bring it back. But we're back. And we're talking about Josh Warrington.
There's an audio connection issue right now. Do you hear it?
Is there?
Yeah. This is how it did.
Son of a bitch.
I'm going to do this for a while. We'll be right back in a second, folks.
It looks good for me. I don't know what to tell you.
There's like a fuzz on your end.